Philosophy means love for wisdom. And as I see it, philosophy saves us from ignorance because it forces us to question ourselves beyond what words tell us and then to reflect in a certain way. It is part of our daily life. We just don't realize it. When we ask ourselves deep questions such as who I am, what I'm what I am doing here, how do I know what is right? With this question, we are philosophing. In fact, Socrates, as well known a Greek philosopher, said the unexamined life is not worth living. Is one of the first branches of philosophy that tries to answer how the universe has created. It also tries to explain topics such as existence, being, and reality. I believe in a God exists, but I have a concept that the Catholic Church doesn't accept. I see I see it as that God is an energy, not a person, not a force, it's just energy. And this energy that we feel and feel us, the people, it is also to an energy that can think and create. I have a combination of ideas. Today, the theory most accepted by science is the Big Bang, which out of nowhere there was a great explosion, and the Bible says in Genesis chapter 1 to 2 and 3. But beliefs imply the same thing out of nowhere there was something immense, the universe. But before it existed, there was already energy. As I say, I see good as energy. To explain that is for me, I'm going to explain in an example. Suppose that I am walking on an avenue and I turn around, and just when I do, there is a car crash. The fact is that there was a traffic accident on X Avenue. I was a spectator, and those who lived the accident will have another reality. First, let's see those who were involved in the accident. One was hit, and the other person hits, and I am surprised and following my reality was only to see and keep walking. So. There will be two realities, one that will make the fact, the event of happiness, I call it primary reality, and the other is what each person lives or sees of that first reality that is a consequence as secondary reality. And as for objects such as a table, a cup, apple, they only static tools to make both realities can work. Aristotle in this blog of philosophy is the only with whom I identify myself. He says in one of the philosophers' theories that the concept of the immobility en- engine, which refers to the fact that in the universe, in order to function, there must be moments, and it is a chain of moments. Then the mind in engine number one, the one that shines all those moments, is one that does not move because it is perfect in every way. Aristotle never said he has God, but the Catholic Church took him to be God. Aristotle may see it in the form of machines, but he says that there is one that is the beginning of everything and is perfect. That is the one that makes everything work, and with that I am like the Catholic Church, and for me, that machine is God. It is studied how humans act and the factors that cause them to act in this way. It also understands concepts to be able to define what is good and what is evil. Humans will act depending on the situations. Something we may think before sometimes we may think before we act, but other times we will act impulsively either because of desire or pleasure, or maybe we feel in our heart a hunch. And what I think is divided into several parts by different philosophers. Plato says in his theory of three souls, brain, heart, and stomach, that humans should make decisions with the soul of the brain and not with the stomach. Kant tells us to act also with reason and not by desires. This theory is in very short words, as well as Plato says to be guided by the reasons. Bergman says that we will always choose the decision that causes us more pleasures, but that we must think beyond ourselves because we can cause pain. Utilitarianism. Action is related to the quality of being used or put to the service of someone. And it is where the phrase used, the ends justify means, which I don't agree to per 100% with this phrase because you can do bad things, but if it's okay, see if more people will be fine. If it studies knowledge in a few words in relation to its nature and extent, the human being from an early age, we learn what is in our environment, we talk our senses. When we are babies, we see, we touch everything around us, but as we grow up, exploring the world with our senses is not enough because we are already forming our own concept, and the world forces use to use our reasons. And as each person is a world, each person will understand depending on their experience. Again, I have a combination of two different philosophers with their theories. The first one is Hume. Sincerely, this is the one I connect with most. That he says that we learn with our senses, and for me, it is easy for me to remember when I use my senses. An example to this is when I went to the laboratory and they put me to do experiment. I use my senses. I touch it and smell it, and the concepts that I saw in class became more clear to me. And this is known in philosophy as empiricism. There is also a part of this theory that how we learn. Hume proposed three ideas. It is stochastic concept, resemblance, con- continuity, things that go together and cause and effect. Looking for the original cause of the ideas. In my student life, I used the first two to learn that concept. Can criticisms will lean for the experience and the reason in his theory calls if it's the noumena and phenomena. Here it becomes a little complicated by the phenomena exists, but we cannot see it. I see as the world of platforms. It relates to me in the part that we learn. Talk with experience. This is a branch what deals with the appreciation of art and beauty. It also too with issues related to nature. I believe that we humans have two ways of defining beauty. One is by the standard imposed by society, but these are always in a constant change. They are called trends. And the other is depending on us, and I feel that in this part we alter it by feelings of love that we have for people or things. Because for something like, for example, my mom is I love you so much, and for me it's beautiful. But for other people that he didn't know, maybe no, isn't beautiful, and that's okay. And when we see something beautiful, it will generate several feelings, maybe one or all at the same time: love, peace, or amazing. And when it's something is ugly, we will know this because when we see it, it will bring us feelings from dislike or disgust. And here there are two philosophical concepts: the sublime and the other grotesque. One contrary to the other, the sublime is to realize that we are insignificant into the nature, and the grotesque exaggerates and transcends boundaries, either physical, psychological, or any other type. Art is a way to make us escape from reality for a moment and make us connect more with the inner world, because art makes us feel either pleasant or unpleasant feelings. But if it manages to make us feel, I believe that that is good art, because from there we will be born as the dog, because it why it's got our attention, and from there we reflect on what is the message of the artist wanted to convey to us. What I think, I have a certain similarity with two philosophers. The first one is Colin Wood. He tells us that there are two types of art: art of attainment and true art. He defines art as a form of escape from reality. It could be a distraction or make us change the way we see the nature. In other words, make us change the art we interact with the world through art. In that, I totally agree. The art that distracts us, I see it more focusing on making us love that thing. And true art is the one that is going to make us feel so that we ask ourselves questions to make us reflect and change maybe your perspective that have of the world. I believe that this last one is the purpose of art. Aristotle said that it's necessary the art because art makes us feel emotion, and for it is what's important for us to feel a certain rage, because this way a balance was activate on our body. And from here comes the problem of tragedy. It is when people go to the theater or movie voluntary, and they are prepared to cry for 2 hours or maybe more time, and they are aware of this uh, and that is the privilege to have paid for this function. And this is apply in today's life, not only in the cinema. If you want to go to see an exhibition, most of the time you have to pay in the museums, although there are sometimes that the entrance is free.
Before the semester started, I saw philosophy as something useless, something that I didn't know and understand why it was taken into account today. But now I know that it's relevant because philosophy is a way of life, because it makes us develop our critical thinking, and that at the same time brings us the curiosity or duty to know the answer on something that come close. In other words, it forces us not to conform by what we think and we know. More than anything else, the base of philosophy is to question oneself in order to later reflect on the answer that you yourself are trying to answer. Philosophy is a way of life that is like the most important lessons that I learned and that I took with me. As I had already mentioned in an essay, I took all the stereotypes to be able to apply them in my life, like Aristotle of the middle point, or to establish my way of acting as said Nietzsche. In a way, philosophy has introduced me to a new ways of thinking, new perspectives that I can apply in my daily life. Thank you.